good afternoon. Welcome to Bowlsy's Forum with me, your host, Dom. And yes, we are back today with episode number 2 of Unscripted. And yes, I will be joined by Jackson Hart, Joel, and Daniel Parker. Two very good friends of mine who have shown the channel a lot of love, so big up to them both for sharing their experiences and stories with me throughout this podcast. So I hope you guys find it very insightful. I hope you enjoy. A disclaimer, Dan's washing machine goes off towards the end. The audio's not great again. It's better, but it's not great. However, you can hear it relatively clearly. So, yeah, I enjoyed listening to it back. I hope you guys do as well. But I do recommend you grab yourself some headphones, grab yourself a drink, sit back, enjoy, and enjoy the show. I'll see you guys very, very soon. Welcome to episode 2 of Unscripted. This was originally number 1, but things happened.
Someone fuck the audio.
Third time lucky.
So
nice. We had to do it twice.
You're not wrong there. So you're on the channel for a second time, believe it or not. Maybe not in the circumstances we would all liked. But Dan, Joel, introduce yourselves.
Go on,
Dan. I'm 25 and I'm single.
Woo! Big muscly gym lad, likes long walks at the park.
Get sunburnt quite easy. Yeah.
Good chat, here for a laugh, and wants to meet the love of his life.
That's what we like.
That's why I Love Island should have accepted me.
And we will get into that very soon, I'm telling you now. Joel, introduce yourself, bud.
My name's Joel, otherwise known as Jackson Hart, pro wrestler from London, England, and I'm here to meet the love of my life. No, I'm not really. I'm taken. But yeah, I'm a pro wrestler. Obviously, love these guys. Yeah, let's go.
Big up.
Up.
So, gents, before we get the ball rolling today, I want to ask a couple of fun questions just to kind of get us in the mood. The first question for you both is, do you guys have any conspiracy theory that you're just so adamant is true?
Yes.
Hit me, Joel.
100%. Right. I don't know if this counts as 2, but 1, the fact that we could live in a dome, I can wholeheartedly believe, because how would you know that you got to the end of the dome?
This isn't The Simpsons. Like,
yeah, but
I was just saying
but if we was actually living in a dome, but the dome's built super high, so you can still see space, you can still get on a boat. The only way, unless you did like a Truman Show, if you've seen that film, is to get on a boat and sail as far as you can until you hit like the end of the dome. How would you know? There's no way of knowing.
Okay.
Number 2, which also is kind of like the dome, the moon that we see.
If you say it's made of cheese, I swear to God.
No, it isn't the moon. And to elaborate, obviously there is a moon. You can prove that with gravitational pull and the water.
And the fact that people have been on it.
Yeah. Do you know what I mean? Do we know that? Do we know that for a fact? Because the flag was waving in the footage and there's no fucking air up there, bruv. So anyway, but the theory behind this is that the moon that we see is a projection the government puts up there just to look like an aesthetic moon. It's not, because sometimes, do you never think, like, bro, the moon's huge. Yeah, the moon is huge. And sometimes, like, what I'm seeing up in the clouds is fucking massive, bro. So if it was that close to the Earth, surely that would like get the water fucking feeling all weird and stuff like that. Do you know what I mean? So I can believe that.
I think that's more likely than your first one.
Yeah, mate, the moon is a projection. Like how they do the bat signal. It's the exact same thing.
So you're telling me they paint on the dome?
Nah, it's a signal, bro. So obviously there's a Commissioner Gordon of the government and he puts up the moon signal instead of the bat signal. Put up the moon signal, boom, they put it up and you get a picture of the moon. Everyone looks at the moon and go, oh, look, the moon looks nice. But actually, that's not the moon we can't see. Do you know what I mean? Like, that's not what we're seeing. It's just a projection. It's for aesthetic.
Yeah, I'm not sure about those.
No, mate. Okay, what about you guys?
I can wholeheartedly say I have none. Like,
none?
Nothing. If I see it, I believe it. If I don't, it's not real. Like, I don't care.
What about COVID?
Yeah, COVID's all the 5G towers, 100%.
What about the Queen's a lizard? What about the Queen's a lizard?
No, you know what's actually mad about the Queen?
She's a lizard.
You know what's mad about the? If we're gonna go like that, you may as well quote Alex Jones. The frogs are going gay. Have you seen
frogs?
That the Queen. You know, like there is actually a law that she literally can get away with anything. Like even if she is proven guilty and she's killed someone, she's got like her effigy. She's so high.
Yeah, but she killed Diana, didn't she? So obviously she fucking gets away with it.
Well, there is one that the Queen's a cannibal because cannibalism is legal in Britain, believe it or not. Cannibalism is legal in Britain. If you look it up, cannibalism is legal in Britain. And every time the Queen goes to Canada, there's a massive shortage of children. So when she comes back, the theory is that the Queen eats children.
Because she's a lizard. Because she's a lizard.
Little Lizzie's getting busy because she's 97 and something's happening over there.
It's in her name. Elizabeth, Lizzie, Liz, Lizard. She's a lizard.
Elizabeth standing for
Liz.
English lizard.
She's the Queen Lizard. We've cracked it, boys.
What a start to the podcast, that is.
100%.
Anyway, gents, I want to crack on with a little bit of everything today. Dan, I want to start with you as your intro was so inspiring. Could you please let the audience know about your Love Island story as far?
You know what? You know those things you just a bit of a ply off a whim, bit of a laugh, sent a few photos in, had to do an audition video. I thought, you know what? I didn't think anything on it because obviously people at work just kind of put me up to it, say I'll be a bit of fun, you'll be good on it because obviously I fucking would be. Have you seen them paper bags that are on there at the minute? There's one guy who's actually all right and the rest are a bit creepy. But went on there, had a little telephone interview, smashed that, got a little Zoom one, similar to what we're doing now, smashed that, and then I had to go to London, had to go meet some directors and something, and I didn't hear anything. So obviously, their loss.
Catfish.
It is what it is. We'll try again next year, boys.
But am I right by saying, Dan, they did contact you again this year, didn't they?
Yeah, I had a missed phone call from them. I missed it, but oh well.
Well, to be honest, mate, I'm not sure you want to go in there at the moment. I'm looking at this
dead.
Boring.
Boring.
I haven't watched it.
Boring, man. You're not missing anything. All it is it's like seeing the talking stage on TV.
Yeah.
No one's doing anything.
The talking stages are dead.
Mate, there's no fighting.
Oh, hey, I'll shut up, boring. Insult me, take the piss out of me. Yes, I'm good looking, but you don't need to tell me that. Insult me.
Destroy my ego.
Inflate my ego.
Make me feel lesser and chase. Or be a psycho. Turn up at my house.
Moving on swiftly. Dan, let the audience know how we know each other.
We met through uni, the joys of university, and obviously the amount of lectures we did together was minimal. The amount of parties we did together, on the other hand, far too many. And the amount of carveries and mandos and other things we did instead of going to our lectures, we were stupid.
Well, big up for both of us for graduating first and foremost.
Yeah.
Big up.
Dan, what was? Let the people know what our routine at uni was.
We're no more than we'll get a text at about 10 to 9 saying, where are you? If one of us was like, oh, we're running late, the other one would be like, oh, McDonald's, or do you fancy going Toby Carvery breakfast? There was no between. It's if one of us were running late, then we both just sat the lecture off and then we'd go do something. We'd go in the library and do work, or just mix up. The thing is though, what I don't understand is I paid £21,000. That's 21,000 great Queen Elizabeth the Lizard pounds. Yeah.
The lizard.
To go to this university for them to put the slides up that I can go through anyway.
Robbery.
To be fair, imagine I would rather have. I might as well have done COVID whilst we were at fucking uni.
Done a COVID.
Yeah, you know how people they didn't go to their lectures. It was all online.
Okay.
All I did.
I thought you meant get COVID. Done a COVID.
I've never caught up COVID. I'm immune, mate.
You're immune.
Because you're also a lizard. That's why. Makes sense. Blonde, blue eyes, Aryan. Very well could be.
And Joel, we obviously met through Dan.
We did.
Give a little context about your background, because obviously we did meet through university.
We didn't know. We met through some miscellaneous night out with Dan, and I'm sure we had a really good time. And we had a lot in common. Obviously, one of them was wrestling, both big fans. And obviously that's a big part of my life, obviously, as a wrestler. And that's pretty much the gig.
It is indeed. Staying on that, we'll get straight into wrestling. Obviously, the pathway to get to professional wrestling is brutal.
Yeah.
I had a similar chat yesterday with Dill about football and the brutality of like kids getting released from football teams at a young age and trying to make it at big clubs. Wrestling's kind of got a similar background, but you seem to be prodding along, mate, and going with it. You've done a lot of house shows, and we'll include some of your footage shortly. But talk to me about and the people, what it's like growing up and going through that wrestling, like I guess the industry of trying to like get to that main goal, that point. Yeah.
Yeah, it's tough, man. It is tough. It's definitely like same with like football, like music, I'd say, acting. If you're not full-heartedly passionate about it, don't bother, because it's far too heartbreaking, and like the highs and lows, no matter, even if you end up on some silly contract with silly money, there's still a lot of BS you got to deal with even at that point, let alone to get through to that point. So it's tough. It's certainly tough. And yeah, for me, it was kind of being a fan, always watched it as a kid. Obviously was like mystified by it, and then didn't grow out of it. So I thought, let me try it. Tried it, went reasonably well, and then kind of stuck at it since then. And it's really got a lot better for me. Like obviously when I first started, there was a lot more like kind of smaller shows, and not as big matches, or not as long, or not as big names. And then this year, and certainly like kind of the years prior, before, well, post-COVID, it's got a lot better for me. I've wrestled some guys on like WWE Network who've got big names and stuff like that, who and wrestling like full-time wrestlers and stuff who are like all about the shop and traveling. And you might get people who go in Japan and go in AEW and things like that. Had a really good opportunity to go out there for in America to Road Wrestling Academy, which I am going to do at some point. COVID got in the way, and then since then obviously just life and whatever. So that's definitely something on my hit list I want to do. And that's with Dustin Rhodes, who's obviously Goldust, who obviously big ties in AEW, and obviously Cody and the family and everything. It's got a lot better for me. Definitely the matches got better, crowds are bigger. My performance and me as a performer, as a wrestler, has got a lot better. And the funny part is, like, I think I've always been like athletic enough to do the wrestling part, and I care about actually being a good technical wrestler. Like when I wrestle, I want it to be a good match. Like, I don't want to have like a match that's just meh. Like, but it's the performance part that took a bit of time for me. Like the fact that you have to like look a bit of an idiot and get like the grannies and the little kids going and get them all excited and make them cheer for you and stuff. And it's slowly coming together for sure. But it's highs and it's lows. Like for me, earlier this year, I remember I got I was supposed to be in like a Royal Rumble, which is 30 men battling it out. For a gig, it's not too bad because there's not too much attention on you. Just go in, do your thing, get out. Didn't sleep. Had 1 hour sleep, fell asleep at 6 o'clock, woke up at 7, got a text at 7:20 saying, oh, you're going to wrestle these guys who are on the WWE Network, biggest match of my career. And that was quite daunting, like on 1 hour sleep as well. But the match went incredibly well. Everyone, like peers and stuff, was happy with it. And the guys themselves were very happy, which was really nice. And since then, things have just got a lot better. But it's big highs and lows. Like, I've had big moments like that where I've had big matches that have gone really well. And then, like, just recently, literally Sunday night. So this weekend, I was supposed to be doing a gig at Sacrifice where I'd entered into a cup. I'd won the first match. So I was in the finals of the cup in a 4-way. Funny story. Sunday night, sitting in my bed, I got cramp. So because I had got cramp, I stood up and tried to stretch it out. Something happened, and I woke up on the floor, face down. And I literally looked at it, I was like, what the fuck? Turned out that I must have literally either passed out or fell, and I just conked the floor. So I obviously rang a hospital, went there. Turns out I got a mild concussion, and I'd had it gone into a seizure as well. So obviously I can't do this weekend's gig now. It is jokes.
That would only happen to you.
So the thing is,
like if I fell over, like bang my head or something, I'd probably have like a little mark or something. But because it's you, you just had a drop and have a fucking seizure. Like that don't happen to everyone.
I knew straight away that I was concussed though, because when I woke up, I just felt so confused. Like I didn't feel right. Like I just like your mind's fragmented. Like you're not cohesive in your thoughts. You can't really, like when I got to the hospital, they were asking me, what year is it? What hospital are we at? I didn't know what hospital it was. I kept saying the wrong one. I kept saying that the year was 1997, but that's the year I was born. Like I was just lost. But I'm feeling better now and stuff. But yeah, it just like even I didn't even have a match. Like it was just the weirdest thing that happened. Like, and I've done some crazy stuff in the ring. I've done some crazy stuff outside the ring, and yet getting a cramp, standing up, and then falling is what's stopping me from being at this weekend's gig. So you just gotta bear through it. It'll come around. So
yeah. You touched on towards the end of that you've gone through shit outside of wrestling as well. Give me a bit of context around that.
Yeah, so just like live stuff really, and like for me, I think all of us, especially like us three here as well, probably a good example, like in different ways as well. Everyone goes through their own journey, and by that I mean like there's going to be stuff in your life that's going to be rough. There's going to be stuff in your life that's tough. There's going to be times that are tough. It might be like moving out and dealing with like that responsibility. It might be like dealing with a new job. It might be, you know, your relationship. It might be your family. It might be whatever. And like for me recently, not now, but I'd say like a couple months back or so, I was in a rough spot where I had a lot of things going on in my life. I took a step back from wrestling and etc., just to kind of reassess and kind of get myself back on a focused path. And sometimes you need to do that. You just need to take a step back and just kind of give yourself some time so that you can be better off going forward. And for me, it certainly worked up until me falling off the bed and hitting my head. I was feeling really, really good. My training was going really well. Just did some really high level training on the weekend for wrestling, been gymming loads and feeling really good and feeling positive. And it's funny that sometimes the things that all like set you back is just these stupid, you'd have never foreseen life circumstance of this weekend. I would have been at the Sacrifice Fatal 4-Way final. Was really looking forward to that. Sacrifice is like a good show for me. It's like a hometown as well because I'm like near from the area. And it just so happened that I slipped and fell, hit my head, and now I can't perform because obviously it would be dangerous for me to do so.
So talking of hitting heads, Dan.
Swear to God.
Before we get onto what you thought I'd talk about, boxing.
Hey,
was
I
like
feel like saying something else.
I know you did. So yeah, talking of hitting heads, boxing. What's the score with you with that? Are you going to start doing it again?
Do you know what? I am. Do you know what?
That's an exclusive.
That's an exclusive. Clip that.
This you can whatever you do, record it. I will have at least one more fight before the end of the year.
Who will you fight?
Don't know, any man.
You versus Davis for the culture.
Nah, I need a challenge, bro.
Oi, at him, Davis. Now, to be fair, I'll let Dan quickly get on because it's Dan's stuff. But Dan's a sick athlete. Obviously, I've known him since a young age, but he's always naturally athletic. Like he could do any sport and probably hit the top levels. And then when he was boxing, genuinely, the match he had technically was very good. He was technically very good. His opponent had already had a fight. He was very technically proficient as well. Both big guys, both powerful. And I think something like boxing, Dan could be so dangerous, man. If he trained and dedicated his time, like a majority of his time, to that type of a craft, he'd be dangerous, man. Because he's a big guy, he's fast as well. If you teach this guy how to flip in, throw some combos quick, and get that head movement going, lights out. You know what I mean? So I want to see him do it. I want to see him do it.
All right, I would one. I'll try and do one before the end of the year. After this, I'll sign up to something local, and I feel like I need to battle the shit out of something.
There's some good academies as well.
100%. And like Joel said,
I've never really looked into it, to be fair.
You won your fight. What was the charity you were fighting for that day?
I think it was Cancer Research UK. They do like a little like white collar boxing thing. They do them all over the place. So I felt well good. They did like 12 weeks training twice a week.
Yeah.
I've never felt so fit in my entire life after I did those 12 weeks.
Yeah. How were them 12 weeks?
Do you know, it was draining because it was Monday and Friday. I'd work all day, go gym, then go straight to boxing for like an hour and a half, whatever. So I was getting to work for like 7:30, 8, and I wouldn't get getting in until like 10, 10:30 at night because, there were long days. All worth it in the end, but yeah.
Well, ultimately you won the fight, so it was worth it, and it's time to remember, innit? But confidence onto your next one, mate. So I'll make sure get me a ticket for this one, yeah.
Yeah, trust.
Also, speak on the topic of Parker's doing good things. Melanie's done some good things for Ukraine recently, hasn't she? Give some context around that.
She's taken in a lady called Tanya, who is a Ukrainian refugee. After 3 months, it could be extended depending on obviously the situation come then. So fair play to her. She wanted me out so she could get a Ukrainian in. See how it is. But hey, we're all good.
Big up.
Yeah, let's applaud that. Genuine, good,
big up, seriously, real one.
Humanitarian stuff there from Mel Parker. We like it.
But no, that's big, mate. So kudos to the fam for that. You've obviously also moved out recently. You may want people to know that. You may not want people to know that.
You're not giving my address away, are you?
Give the people what they want.
Talk to me about how that's been, because I know there's probably some lonely times in there as much as there's been a good party every weekend.
Not for him.
Do you know what? Yeah, moving out was, to start off, was a little bit like surreal, because like you say, you come home, you got my dog, you got my sister, got mum, just making noise. It might be the TV, it might be whatever. There was some form of noise. And obviously now when I come in, there's nothing, which in its own sense is bliss, but it has its moments where you'll be like, oh, it's a bit shit. But at the same time, I wouldn't say I've always got like people around, so I'm not on my own technically all the time. So I'm fucking loving it. I wish I'd done it sooner though. That's my own. I wish I'd done it sooner.
Well, you didn't.
But I wouldn't have been able to.
Joel, however, you don't have a mortgage, but you moved out a little bit earlier than us both.
Mate,
how's life in London, mate?
Life in London, incredible. But like you said, don't have a mortgage, but I wish I did, mate, because like me and Dan talk about it a lot. Like Dan, I'd probably pay maybe just a bit more than Dan does in rent.
He actually pays more rent. As if I include all my bills and all my mortgage, like everything on my,
probably still more, maybe.
The entire house, it's actually less than what Joel pays.
Yeah, proper. And you know what? Like, it's a terrible investment renting. Like, it's a terrible investment.
I know it's bad because I've got my grandparents' house that me and my sister rent out. My mum owns my sister and I, so we get rent each month from them. What they pay in their rent pays for my mortgage.
Wow.
Yeah.
But
and my mum and my sister still get money.
That's the thing. If you're a landlord or a homeowner, renting is the best thing you can ever do. Like I said to you, you could have even maybe thought about staying at home for a couple of years and renting that place out after you built it up.
I wouldn't do that.
Well, obviously, like, to be fair, either way, it would have worked out for you. It's only each option is a winning option. But yeah, renting's, it's good to get out. And to be honest, I've always wanted to be away from home. It's just kind of for me and my lifestyle and what I need. That's what I need. Obviously the renting, I wish I wasn't, but it has its perks. Like I live in a nice building. I got a gym there. I got a sauna there. There's like loads of social activities. There's like loads of clubs. They do like a gymnastic club. They do like a meditation club. They do like chocolate tasting, wine tasting. They do food club where people cook different foods from different
I'd end
cultures.
up fat and drunk every night if I was.
Mate, they go out. We go out every Friday. Well, the option's there. That every Friday they'll have parties, all paid for, like unlimited supply of alcohol. They had like a Mexican night the other night. It was like San Miguel.
When are we coming?
Anytime. I just got to obviously
let's set a date, yeah?
give the boot.
Last Friday. Actually, no, I can't do last Friday.
Dan, we are live, mate.
to be fair as well, there's not one this week. I think there'll be one next week. But yeah, like you get unlimited San Miguel tequila, and then they ordered in a huge batch of Taco Bell. It was like 300, like 150 tacos, 150 wraps. I must have had about 10 of each. Like, so I can't lie, it does come with its perks. Like, it's really nice, and there's a good community in the building as well. You meet a lot of people, make a lot of friends. Yeah, I like the London life, man. It's a lot of hustle and bustle, and there's things always going on. But I like that because, like, if I'm out on the weekend and I want to do something, even if it's 4 a.m, there's still something going on. Like, same way, if I want any takeaway I want at 4 a.m, I can get it here. Like, so, and for whatever you're doing in whatever craft, the opportunity is always bigger. No matter what you do for work, what you do in terms of passion, what you do in terms of hobby, it's bigger and there's more opportunity here. So for me as a wrestler, it's a lot better for that as well.
Yeah, I can imagine. And the social aspect of that as well. Like,
lovely.
Yeah,
I made
it's a win-win, isn't it? Like, doing wrestling, if you live in the countryside, like, how are you going to get to anyone anywhere? It's difficult.
You can plug away for years and years and be really up there, but if you're not getting seen by the right people, whereas like opposite way, I know a ton of people who've maybe had a year and they're pretty good, got seen by the right person at the right time, they got a good opportunity, made good opportunity, and they're off to the races. And that's all it takes, is the getting seen by the right eyes. And obviously, like in anything, it's far more vibrant here. For wrestling specifically, it's kind of more vibrant in London just because you have 2 really big companies that like made their strongholds here, and then obviously WWE have got ties here to North London as well. So
yeah, absolutely. So switching up a little bit, I want to get into some a little bit of heavy stuff now, deeper bits.
Eddie.
Dan, with regards to yourself and the family, you obviously lost.
Wait, 1 sec. Can you hear my washing machine popping off or not?
Nah.
Oh, that's blessed then.
I need to shut a door because I get tripped out by doors that are open.
Is that just all over again?
Wow. So no, mate. Obviously, a lot of people watching this would have lost someone close to them more recently in a more recent time, and they may not know how to cope with that, or they're still coping with that. With yourself, you obviously lost your dad a few years ago now.
Yeah.
How are you feeling at the moment? And I guess, how's the family, and how do you kind of cope and manage that situation?
Start off with, you didn't. You just, it was just 1 second you're there, 1 second you're not. Yeah, you never got to say goodbye. Never got to, and there's always like things. Obviously, you say you wish you'd done, which you didn't do, all this, that, the other. Obviously, so a lot of regret probably creeps in. Even now. Like every now and again, I'll say to myself, "Oh, I wish I could go back to the time when this happened or when this happened." Obviously, that's just my way of thinking. Don't get me wrong; it doesn't happen often, but it happens still. Like it just does, even like a couple of years down the line. But
yeah,
it's one of those things that one thing that does wind me up though about all of it is when people go, "I know how you feel." Hate it. It's like, no, you don't. You didn't have the relationship I had with my dad. But if you've lost your parent, your mum, your dad, whoever, I wouldn't say, oh, I know how you feel, because at the end of the day, what you have with your parents, your brother, siblings, whoever it might be, it's your relationship. So only you in that situation would know how you feel. And that's one thing as well, me up. But I probably owed a lot to some people. Probably took a little for granted, but it is what it is. Get on with it. Alcohol was a good friend of me early on.
Pardon?
Alcohol was a good friend of mine early on.
Yeah, I'm not surprised. I think it probably is at most people's mechanism and escapism to it. You said there's a lot of people that supported you through it. How did they support you, and what in hindsight would you recommend to someone who feels similar to how you've described you felt, and they may not know what to do in that situation?
Don't push people away is probably my best thing to say.
That's a good one.
At the end of the day, the people in your life, whenever these things happen, are there for whatever reason. They're there to help you. They're there to be there for you. I know, obviously, and sometimes you feel like you're isolated or you want to be on your own, but don't push those who are close to you away is probably my best advice to say.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
how work to drink alcohol.
How are you feeling at this present moment with regards to it all? Because obviously time passed, but is it one of those things that's still quite sensitive to talk about? I imagine it always will be. But
obviously now and again, I feel like I can make a joke, but when I make a joke, I'm like, oh, I shouldn't have done that.
Yeah.
But no, I'd say I can take a lot of things like people say anything about me, I don't really care. But it's like a taboo. It's like a taboo if I think about it. If you say the wrong thing, you'll probably lose your rag. But like I say, it's one of those things.
And how's your sister and mum been since the incident as well?
I think they did better than me, if I'm honest, because my mum and my sister are like two peas in a pod. They are identical, bless them. So they kind of had each other, I felt. So me was always with my old man. So obviously when that ended, it was kind of like that blanket essentially that wasn't there. So I felt like I had no one when I pushed those close in this way. But it's more like the fact it's the fact that the more I felt alone when I wasn't, which is probably the worst thing.
No, I get that. I do get that. I can't relate, but I understand what you're saying. Yeah, it's one of those situations.
I'm glad you didn't just say I know how you feel, because I'll jump through and punch you.
Nah, don't you worry.
We don't endorse violence on this podcast either.
We don't,
despite the fact we've talked about boxing and wrestling.
Heavy drinking we endorse.
Yeah, heavy drinking fine, but no violence.
Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, in more recent time, mate, you've passed the PGCE. We graduated from uni. You're now teaching. Let the people know like how that feels. I mean, teaching, passing that, celebrating the small wins always alleviates some of the stress that you may be going through. You must be feeling pretty good right now. New house.
Fair, you say this, yeah, but I really don't ever celebrate small wins. I'm like, I'll move on to the next thing. Like, I've always feel like I've got something on my mind that I can't celebrate my win. Does that make sense?
Yeah, I mean, I'm the exact same, but what I've learned to do more is if I get a celebration, I'll probably have a drink.
You should celebrate.
I get carried away. I can't have one. It's a Wednesday, and if I had a beer now, I'd want another 7. Like,
you got to appreciate the things that you've accomplished.
100%.
I think. Yeah, 100%. Because like, whether it be work, personal, professional, career, like, you should always celebrate them because. And I get what Dan's saying, because that's the natural human instinct. And I think specifically for a male of that age, where you've got heavy responsibility, you do get caught up in a thing of, yeah, I just did this, but I've got to keep going. I've got to keep going. I've got to get to the next thing. I've got to get to the next pay bracket. I've got to get to the next part of my career. I've got to get to and I've got to constantly strive, which is a good thing to have, because it means you're obviously very goal oriented and you're not happy with just this. But yeah. I do think when you do get a win, sit in it and enjoy it. Like, I'm not saying like 5 years from now, hey guys, remember that time? Do you know what I mean? Like, you don't have to do that. But I think it's a good thing to do. Like, and it's hard, but I think as you get older, it's something I've slowly learned to do. Because like, in terms of my career, like, there's loads of times, and just in general life, you'll do stuff and you'll think that was great, but tomorrow's this, and then Wednesday's this, Friday's this, and then, but like you've just got to sometimes sit and just think, do you know what, today went well, and I'm happy about it, like, and appreciate that. You know what I mean?
100%. Couldn't agree more. And I think setting them like you mentioned about always having them next goals. I try and, or more recent time, I always see it as another level. I see my life as a game, and it's always trying to get to that next level of the game, and that way, I don't know if you've seen it, but Matthew McConaughey did a speech at his when he picks up his Grammy like a couple of years ago, and he said like, who is your idol, your inspiration? And he always goes, my inspiration, my idol is me 10 years from now, because I'm always trying to catch up to that person every 10 years.
Yeah.
And that kind of resonated with me a little bit, and kind of changed my perspective on how I view myself and what my next goals and challenges are per se. Because if you're always chasing yourself, that's a good thing, right? Because it means you're always striving to better yourself.
Yeah, you're your best competition, like in the sense of whatever field you're in, it can be in direct competition with others, but I don't know if it's necessarily that healthy. Whatever works for you, to be honest. Like Michael Jordan, his whole mindset was that like every single tiny thing that he sees in other people is instantly personal competition for him. So he has to smash them into the ground. And that drove him for 20 years to the highest level. However, like people are different. And I agree with you, like you're your best competition in the sense, like for me, like I always think back to like, okay, I why can't I do this right now? Because I used to be able to do it like that. Well, now I just did it. So I want to be better. I want to do it better this week. I want to be better than I was last week, better in this match than I was then, better 6 months from now than I was that, better moving like this or better performing like this. So you're your best competition. If you're constantly trying to outdo yourself, then you'll only ever get better, because ultimately that's what you want to do. In any field, in anything, you want to be getting better. You want to be constantly learning. Unless you are literally the Jordan of your field, you should be always trying to be learning and be better.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
One of the last things I want to cover, gents, which is kind of deep, is one of the things a lot of people and kids today, and I've suffered with it, is kind of whatever it may be, but suffering with addictions. Or I had a really weird addiction where I literally just drink full fat Coke every day. Could have 4 or 5 bottles. I
not the worst one though. Not too bad.
In all seriousness, I at Christmas was like 19.5 stone, my heaviest ever. Right now I'm 16.9 stone, because I've cut it out my life, and I've just been focusing on I've gone to Pepsi. It's all green on the little diet Pepsi.
There you go, free diet tips from Dom if you want to lose 3 stone.
And,
go from Coke to Pepsi, you're sorted.
Yeah, and doing like 9 kilometers a day, walking wise, speed walking and whatnot, but it helps. I don't know what Dan said. I don't want to hear it back.
Dan's a dickhead, basically.
But what I wanted
it's all right for him. Naturally cut, 1% genetics since birth. Do you know what I mean? Like,
yeah, Dan shredded. Dan, obviously an addiction that we both, you got me into. I'm not ratting you out, but you got me into was a little bit of gambling at university. Talk me through how bad that got for you.
Awful. I was whacking on hundreds of thousands of pounds at McDonald's at like 10:30 in the morning. I was like shaking. I was bad, man. I'd put on like, I don't know, like 50 quid just for a bit of fun, and I'd lose, and I'd do 100, and I'd lose again, and I'd just keep going. At a point where I'm tracking on like thousands to win it back, and at one point I was like, shit, like, I actually need to stop.
I'm right by saying
I stopped roulette, but I still gamble on the football. £10 a weekend.
I'm right by saying though, it got to a point where you look. Am I right by saying you almost put on like £3,000, you lost it, and then you won it all back?
Yeah.
Like that is mental.
Did you win it back?
Yeah.
Yeah, he did.
Oh, I thought you just lost like a certain percentage of it.
Nah, he lost it all and then won it all back.
Fair enough.
No, it's not fair enough. It's so stupid.
I tell you what, though, that's
fair. I mean, one time there, though, Dom like did a madness. I said, Dom, pick a number. I threw like 50.
True story.
Like on a number. It was just stupid. Like I'd won money, and I was just like, oh, I'm funny, I know. And it actually landed on it, and I won like a grand or something stupid.
Yeah, we're meant to be in a lecture, and we went McDonald's, and we were just sitting there. We were just sitting there, and Dan's got Sky Roulette up, and he's literally like, "Oh no, what is it? We're playing black. Well, yeah, it was roulette, wasn't it?" And he said, "Pick a number." I said like 16. You put a tenner on. Was it 25 quid on 16? Got like 400 quid back.
Trying to win his 21 grand back. That's why.
Trust me. Oh wait, I blame uni turning me into a gambling addict.
Yeah, it's definitely uni's fault. Definitely.
Yeah, I think I've got an addictive personality.
No, I do as well.
Oh yeah,
You don't play
definitely
FIFA.
do as well. Yeah. You just got to find one that's healthy though. That's what it is.
Yeah,
I haven't found it yet.
I mean,
Coffee.
Have you ever
Coffee,
struggled with any sort of addiction?
The only addictive personality I think is healthy is the gym.
Yeah, see that still goes into it. And yeah, Dom, to answer your question, yeah, like me, I think I realised at a very young age that I'm incredibly highly addictive. Like, so for me, it's like how it feels is like anything in the world that I like or I enjoy and I put into my body, if that feels good to my brain will go, oh, more until either that is gone or like I physically cannot do no more. And it's the same with anything. And it could be full fat Coke. It can be coffee. It can be sport, like gym. It can be wrestling, which are healthier ones. So now in my age, I've realised like gym, wrestling, coffee, these are healthy addictions. Like, no matter how much I do with them, the repercussions aren't that bad. But obviously, if you take that same mindset, obviously it's not a conscious choice. It's just the way that I am. Like if I put that into something like excessive drinking or excessive substance abuse, there is no end. So when I was young, I realised at a very early age, far more than like say people at my age or like friends and stuff that I had, I was into things that I just really shouldn't have been at a rate that was so incredibly high. Like even now, I'll speak on certain things that I was doing at a young age and I'll talk to grown men in their 20s, 30s, and they'll be like, that's crazy. Like, and I'll be like, yeah, it is when you think about it. So it's just, for me, it's just coming to a point where I know I'm like that. So if I allow myself to be like that, there's no end. However, if I restrict it and I put it into like a passion, like wrestling, or I put it into like coffee or like sport and fitness, where like every time I work out I feel tremendous, and even if it means like there's periods in my life where I was going 7 days a week gym, sometimes even twice a day, just because like I was sober and I had to like be doing stuff, and then wrestling twice a week and then having a match, like, but when I'm like that, it keeps me very stable and whole, and like ultimately, even if you're a bit achy and stuff, there's nothing too bad going to come from excessiveness on that. So you just have to find the right things, really, I think.
Absolutely. Yeah, I understand that. Would you say that kind of makes up your background now? As in those early experiences that you alluded to, do they somewhat reflect maybe your personality now? Because you speak as someone who's very level-headed, someone who's very intellectual, someone who's very confident in the way they come across. Would you say early experience? Would you say that's stems from them early experiences?
1,000,000%, yeah, because at a young age, I probably wrecked a lot of stuff. To be quite honest, I probably ruined a lot of stuff. I ruined friendships, my own personal, my lifestyle, my family probably upset, all this stuff. I don't need to go into heavy detail. Like, you can obviously chalk that together. But like, when I look back on it now, in a way, I'm thankful. Not thankful for like the misguided actions that I took, but more thankful that it happened and where it put me now. Because the way I look at it is, well, yeah, in between the ages of 13 and 20, predominantly, I was into a lot of bad stuff. I made a lot of terrible choices. But because of that, my 20s and onwards have been far more stable, and I've made better choices for myself. And I'm kind of at that stage where I don't need to do that anymore because I've done it. It's out my system on the most part. And it allows me to kind of have a better life and know myself better, because if I flip it on the other side, if I'd have never gone through that and then at 20 discovered all of that, I don't think I'd be able to be living in this flat. I'd probably sell it for something, You know what I mean? Like,
And that's the reality, isn't it?
I would have ruined my relationships and stuff. And there's a lot more on the line, say now at this age, when you've got like responsibilities and your bills, your job, your work, to your relationship, to your family and stuff like that. So I'm thankful it happened at a younger age, which a lot of mistakes were made, but really all I had on the line was I didn't quite get the GCSEs I wanted, got kicked out of school, wasn't the best thing in the world, but I still had enough time to kind of pull it back and not end up in a worse place. I mean, loads of people I speak to now who were in that place as well, or who knew me at that time who weren't in that place, I always get the same thing, which is like, I'm really surprised. Like, I'm really surprised at it. Like, and I'm like, yeah, like me too. But it's good. Like, I think your experiences define who you'll be, and it's not just me personally and what happened in my life. It's the same with Dan. Like, his experiences have defined him as a man, and your experiences define you as a man. And even if you're a woman or whatever you believe in and whatever you want to be, like, your previous experiences will define on who you go to be. So I'm glad that it happened. It certainly made me better, and it kind of, in a weird way, it was the path that found me onto wrestling. Which I think was a huge part of me, like, really trying to do better and trying to be better for the sake of my career. So
yeah. Thank you for sharing, mate, because that some of that is quite in depth, and like you said, you can probably put 2 and 2 together on some of it. But no, that was really insightful. So thank you for sharing that. Before I get to the last question, I want to ask you both.
Yeah.
One for you, just to both kind of sum up for anyone watching. How do you both manage with either lowness or depression? Depression, I use that term because everyone gets low. So there's certain types of depression, like clinical depression. I have a PTSD, which is a form of depression. But how do you boys, when you get to a low point, what is your motive? How do you guys keep your head above water, keep yourself sane, and what are your methods? Let's start with you, Joel, or Dan, whatever.
I'll bottle it up. Straight up.
In a bottle.
Ain't got time for that.
Yeah.
Get on with it. Like, if I've got problems, you've got problems, she's got problems, they've got problems, I can't be bothered with it. Because if I offload my bullshit on someone else, then they've got more shit on their day, which they probably don't need. So I just keep it to myself, personally.
I understand that mentality.
I know that is a really bad thing to do. But...
Toxic masculinity. But it makes sense because we all do it. Like, I'm the same. Like Dan's known me my whole life, and I'm definitely someone who goes through those stages because I'm just naturally prone. Like, but I don't think there's really many times where I've probably been like to Dan. By the way, mate, at the minute, I won't really tell people around me, and I won't share with my family, my friends. I'll just go through it. But I think what it is, there's probably no universal way, but I always think just do what's making you comfortable and do what's comfortable for you in order to kind of get back to where you need to be. So that can come in different forms. Like, for me, if I notice that I feel down and funny and I'm not feeling great in myself, I'll immediately go work out, no matter how much I don't want to, because I know the minute I finish that session, I will feel better. And even though later on when I get into my bed, it might wear off and I'm still not feeling 100%, I'm better for it. So I think exercise is 100% one of the best things you can do. But I think also, even if that means take a week off, take a load off, relax, take a reprieve, and even if that means you're sitting on your bum playing PS4, but you feel comfortable in that space and you don't feel pressure and you don't feel anxious, you don't feel depressed. Like, everyone has different ways of coping. Sometimes when I feel funny, like, I might not want to socialize very much. So I'll easily go through periods of like a month or 6 weeks of I'm not really going to be in contact with people that much. But that's purely because I need to stay focused. So I need to gym, wrestle, train in order to keep me going. And then when I feel a little bit better, I'll be out like with my mates every weekend, having the time of my life. But it's just finding what makes you comfortable. For me, sometimes even going seeing a movie, like, is really helpful because it's nice. Get out the house, go be in like a nice space with people that you love or like people that you care about, people that make you feel good. Go watch a good movie. Like, anytime I felt funny, if I go watch any Marvel movie, I'll immediately feel on top of the world. Like,
Yeah.
if I'm sure No Way Home isn't out for release yet. Well, it is, but it's like £20 on Amazon, so I'm not paying that. But I'm absolutely sure if there's any time I felt bad, if I switch on Spider-Man No Way Home, I will immediately feel better. There's no way Toby, Andrew, and Tom all together fighting these villains and Queen Liz can't help me out. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Yeah, because she's the lizard, bro.
Yeah,
But like,
I got the reference.
but obviously that's for me, and that's me personally, like reading a comic book well. But it's what you like and what's best for you. So just know yourself and be fair to yourself. Like, give yourself that time. There's nothing wrong with that. Do you know what I mean? Like, if that's what you need to do. If you want to get through things and you just want to soldier on, that works for a lot of people. If you want to take time off and just kind of get in touch with like what you like and stuff, and do that. It's whatever works for you. It's your process. There's no right or wrong, I don't think. Yeah.
100%. Just kind of rounding that off. I understand what Dan was alluding to, and I have a tendency to do that a lot of the time. The way I've kind of put stuff into perspective and the way I've done things to manage myself is I always imagine my head to be like a bowl of spaghetti. I'm thinking about a million things at once. So I do a lot of mind mapping on my phone. So I've got notes and I'll just be pinging off all these things. And the minute you can see something in person, it's so different to having it in your head, because you can stand back from it and it elevates yourself consciously, so you can see what kind of sticks to where. I've got my family problems there, my relationships there, my work problems there, my money's there. How can I pinpoint and solve this? How can I pinpoint and solve that? And I'm probably mind mapping my brain probably every week, but that's just because I'm all over the place with my brain.
But it keeps
that's just
you
the way I function, and that's how that works for me.
It keeps you structured. It keeps you structured. Do you know what? I like that a lot as well, because I know a lot of people who do that. Like, I have friends who'll do a thing very similar of like they'll write the things down of what they need to do this week, and like have a check-in with themselves, like, how did this week go? Did I complete those things? Or it might even be listening to an audiobook for an hour, or like doing a bit of art for an hour, or reading a bit of a book, or whatever it may be. I like that a lot. Like, that's because you're constantly like keeping up with yourself and giving yourself structure. And I think that works very well, especially when you said about how, like, because if you think of it all at once, there's a word for it, I'm forgetting the word now.
Yeah.
But when you're thinking everything at once, of course it's going to be on top of you, because that's logical.
It becomes messy. It doesn't become clear.
Yeah. There's a word for it. I forget what it is. I'll probably remember it as soon as we end it. But it's like, if you're thinking of my money problems, you're thinking of my relationship problems, you're thinking about my love life, you're thinking about your family life, you're thinking about your friends and stuff, you're thinking about your job. If you think about that all at once, it's very consuming. Like, all at once, to take everything in, if you're in a bad spot, or even if you're not, it's a lot to take in. But then when you compartmentalize it and you think about, well, tomorrow I've got to get up at 7 a.m. to get to work at 8. I'm going to go do my workout. I'm going to go to training. It's going to be a good day. I'll eat my food. I'll watch a film. Do you know what I mean? And then by tomorrow, when you slept on it, when you break it down to all the little things, it's far easier than you think. But when you think of it big, all encompassing, obviously it's very hard to face. But what you said there is really good. It's just breaking things down.
For me, that helps most with anxiety, because I get anxious when I know I've got so much to do. When I know that feeling of anxiety for me, anxiety. The thing that I always find is most difficult with that is, it's like, that feeling when you wake up late for work and you're in a rush to get to
and
work.
You're like,
That is how I feel anxiety is, but it's all the time. So when I'm not structured and I'm not disciplined, then I will fall down that. And that's the worst feeling in the world, to feel like you're on eggshells and you're running everywhere all the time. Because it feels like you're playing catch up.
And it's so weird, because there's no rhyme or reason to it. Like, what's weird with me is, like, I'm a naturally confident, chatty guy. Like, I'll chat your ear off. Yeah. Like, that is who I am. I can't help that. Like, and yet, even sometimes, I'm not socially anxious. I'll chat to anyone from anywhere at any time. And yet, even times I've had it where I'm probably in a rough spot and I'm thinking at home and I've got to go to a party, I've got to go to some sort of social event, and I'm thinking, like, everybody there doesn't want to see me. I should just not go. Like, let's just not go. This is going to be the worst idea ever. Everybody hates me. But that's not actually fact. And then the minute I shower and, like, I get dressed, and then I start going and I get there and I talk to everyone and I remember, like, oh yeah. I've known these people for years. This is great. Like, I really enjoy this. Like, it's weird. Sometimes you have to kind of forcefully push yourself to do stuff.
Yeah,
as well,
100%.
Before
I
you
completely
do it,
relate with that because
Yeah,
I used to suffer. Well, I still do, but my social anxiety used to be mental when I was still going through school. Like, I shit you not, I before a night out, I'd probably wash my hair 3 times before I go out because I hate the way I look, and I'd be worried about how people would perceive me when I'm out.
Yeah.
And I'd literally be shampooing my hair 3 times in a row. You know what I mean? Like, do you know how bad that is?
I bet your hair smelled amazing.
People say I smell good. That's probably my best trait. But
well, we know
I
what.
get that, but it's weird that form of anxiety because it's almost like your brain has triggers, and I think your brain sometimes thinks you're in danger, so it tries to protect you when you're out from things happening. So it's just an awareness of seeking danger. So it's probably trying to protect yourself when it's not wrong to feel that way. It's just your brain looking out for you. So you shouldn't feel wrong if you suffer with that.
I should definitely brought like a pen and paper to this because I'm listening, thinking I could try this, and I'm just thinking to myself because this camera is propped up on a bottle of vodka and a bottle of Anubis. Like, I'm just thinking to myself, fuck all that. I might as well just drink these.
How much is left in the bottle?
They're unopened. That's the worst thing.
Oh, that's nice. Really I'm going to open one after this podcast. Don't you boys worry.
I probably won't.
What a bottle.
I probably won't do that.
Before we finish, gents, my last question for you both is, you both had some art done more recently. I know I've got the photos and I'm going to pin them in this video. But if you, Joy Band gents, could just describe to me a little bit of your artwork before we go.
Go on, I'll start then. Well, you can't really see it, edit, but before you wonder why my elbow's pink, yeah, it's because I tapped out. It hurt like fuck. He was going up there and he was fucking shading the fuck out of it. It honestly, I'd rather go through another breakup than fucking do that again.
Was he supposed to go on your elbow then?
Mate, yeah, look, I tapped
didn't know
out,
that.
Bro. That's why it's pink.
What, is that quite a hard part, is it?
Mate, it hurt. It hurt.
Yeah, it probably is, isn't it?
Yeah,
I never thought about
it. At some point, I'm gonna have to get. I'm booked in to have it in to finish off. You've got to go background there and colour all that in. I would do. Bearing in mind, I was 6 hours deep at this point, and I was
6 hours is long. Like,
I was in so much pain, but I don't know. I guess when the photos come up, so Mike like an Anubis. He is the Egyptian god of the dead, the one that kind of like looks over and does all that jazz. He's got 2 little like staffs in his hand. One meant, I'm gonna look up. One meant power, the other one meant like family sort of thing. So I took the staff out that meant power, and I replaced it with a Guinness heart because my old man was known as Guinness Dave, and he loved his alcohol. And obviously, day by day, so
big up.
So I'm gonna become my dad. I'm gonna be walking around in flip flops, old guys rule t-shirts, and like
shorts.
Legs. Like, I'm ready. Yeah, so I got that. Then changed the established date of it to his date of birth. Other side, I've got horror. So like again, they're like brothers. So it's like kind of like a family thing. And then down the bottom is like me. You can kind of see it, I suppose. Me, my mum, my sister. And that's all of us like together. And then next to it, again, there's like some footsteps. So it's just like he's always kind of with you, sort of thing, walking along, all that soppy bollock shit. And then to finish it off, there's like a constellation up here as well, which is his star sign. Yeah.
I'm not crying, you're crying.
And then I've got a camel on my toe. Nah, Jake, I haven't got that. I'll probably I'll get a stupid tattoo when I go beefer.
Your art's really nice, man. Definitely make sure I tag that in because I like the sentiment behind it as well. And the fact it means a lot to you, it represents yourself, which is beautiful, really. Joe, you've obviously got your own as well.
Yeah. To be fair, that touched my heart there. I was literally like, oh. But also as well,
big thing is though, whenever people ask me that, like, because I've had so many people say, "Oh, I love you, tattoos." Like, it generally does. I'm not just like too much trumpet. Like, they do generally say it quite a bit. And literally 99% of the time, I'm like, if some people, if they ask, like, "Oh, why'd you get it?" I'm like, "Oh, because I like it." I just don't.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? It's, "Oh yeah, I like it. Oh, it's cool." Obviously, people who know me or I know them, whatever, and they ask me that question, I'll explain it.
Yeah.
I just tell them that, "Oh, I got it because I like it." Like, because otherwise, you're on a night out, You're explaining it. You know
For
how
like
Joel,
20 minutes.
Joel's getting a bit emotional. Next thing you know, I'm fucking balling it, ordering 6 Jaeger bombs.
Yeah, when you've had a few drinks as well, yeah.
Like, trust, I'm out here crying.
Yeah, 100%.
No change. Real men cry.
Yeah, trust. Big up.
I cry all the
Real
time.
man.
Big
With
up.
big biceps. It's all right to cry. Even if your biceps are wide, it's all right. But yeah, mine's they do definitely have meaning. And quickly as well, big ups to Big Dave, because to this day I still only like Guinness because Big Dave introduced me to Guinness, because we went to an Arsenal game in Tottenham, as he would do, and we did quite often.
Oh, we love that, Dan Tollingham.
And he was like, what are you drinking? And at this point, I never really had anything on tap. I'd only ever get Corona, because slyly I think I'm Mexican or something. And then he was like, oh, I'm on the Guinness. He was like, get a Guinness. I was like, okay, so I got a Guinness. And ever since, any pint that I drink, and I think Dan's the same as well, will always get Guinness now. I get Guinness Black more often these days, but I always go for Guinness on tap if they got it.
If there's one there, I have it on tap. Obviously, I'd never get it from the can, because that's...
Nah, it's not as good, man. It's not as good. But yeah, with black as well.
Yeah. We've talked about more alcohol on this than we have any other thing. You should just name the podcast Alcohol Talk, not Unscripted.
How to drink responsibly.
And getting back to it before we finish, mate. Joel, talk us through your art, mate.
Yes, so I don't know if you'll be able to see on it.
I'll take it off.
I'll tag it. But so yeah, on my neck it's an angel, which is like kind of at the top of my chest, a lot on my neck, and then up the sides there as well. And the angel is originally a painting that my mum did, because my mum's very creative. She paints a lot, she draws a lot, she writes stories and stuff, and she's really super creative and good at on all levels for that. Like and a lot of the paintings she's done I really, really like. So the angel was like my favorite one. And hopefully one day she'll let me have the painting, but we'll see how that goes. And I took it to the tattooist and said, look, this is a painting my mum did, it's my favorite one. Can you do this? And he couldn't do it the exact way that she had done hers, because hers was so comprehensive. Like, he would have been tattooing me for like a year, because it was so heavy detailed. But he did like a version of it, and it does look a lot like it. And yeah, it's obviously it's a painting my mum did. Obviously I love my mum very much, so it's really nice to have that. And I think actually in future as well, there's more paintings she's done which I will get done on me as well, because there's a lot of them which have amazing imagery, and obviously it's good sentiment there as well, so I like that a lot. And then down my back, like literally the top of my spine right down to like the lower third of my back, all across the spine, like perfectly vertical. Yeah, is that right? Because I get confused. Right. That's horizontal. That's
horizontal, mate. That's vertical.
Yeah,
oh,
vertical.
I thought you were like pausing for dramatic effect, not because you didn't.
Nah.
Yeah, I did as well.
I was waiting to see if anyone corrected me.
My tattoo is
vertical. Nah, because I get confused which is which. But
do you get confused with left and right as well?
Yeah, that's my left. That's my right.
Okay,
but to you, it's the opposite way around, because you're looking at me for a camera.
Yeah, no, I knew you were right.
Not just a pretty face. But yeah, so it's all down my spine, and basically it says time to let old things die, but it's written in Bengali. So it's like lettering imagery all down my spine. And obviously originally my family's from Bangladesh, so that's why I got that. And I just like the quote, and it's just basically about like, time to let old things die, don't hang on to the past, and just keep moving forward. Basically, that's kind of my thought behind that. And I've got plans to get loads and loads more. Like, if it was up to me and I got like signed by Wrestling Tomorrow, I'd have like all of this there, back of my head, literally head to toe. But yeah, we'll see how it goes. I do want to get loads more, to be fair.
Big up.
Big up. Big up.
Thank you both for doing this again. I admit I have heard a little squeak throughout this, but hopefully it's not too bad on the audio. At least we will have sound this time.
Hey.
If we don't have sound, yeah, and we've got to do this a third time.
Is everyone free tomorrow night?
I'm drinking. I'm being plastered.
We'll do a live stream or something if that's the case.
Yeah, we'll take a shot every time the audio doesn't get recorded.
Before we finish, gents, big thank you for both of you for spending this time with me. sharing a little bit about yourselves and your stories, because you're both big characters in my life anyway. I've got huge admiration and love for you both. Before we finish, gents, can you guys just give a shout out to where the people can find you?
Don't bother following me on anything. Apart from Insta.
Love Island.
Parker 96.
I can't see straight.
Catch me next year, Love Island.
And Joel?
And me. Yeah, so Insta, I think it's the same as my Twitter, which is troublesomehart_. My Twitter might be J Jackson Hart, but yeah, it's one of them. And then my Facebook is Jackson Hart as well. So if you like wrestling, definitely hit me up. And even if you don't, hit me up on that. Come get some tickets, come to a show. Nice. And also quickly touching on Dan's Love Island thing. I don't know if you guys heard. They're doing an actual version of Squid Game's like reality TV competition. So I'm entering it.
Oh, bruv,
do it with me.
I'm whacking it on charge. I'm doing it. I don't care.
Oh, do it with me, bruv. I was doing it today. I've entered all my stuff. You just have to send a video. And I thought, Squid Games, I'm built for this. Like this, I'm born for this shit.
Wait, hold up. How much do you win and do you die?
It's like 431 mil.
Oh, someone's got to die in that then.
No, there's no deaths. But the rest, you do all the competitions and everything. I thought that's sick, man. So I'm gonna have to enter that. But...
Well, it's time that people start following you both to see your journeys. Dan with boxing, Joel with Squid Game and wrestling. But we'll call it there, gents. Thank you very much again, and we'll have you on very soon, and we'll talk about all things the people want to hear.